The orbital gardens of the research ark Alethea floated silently above a green-blue planet. The gardens were a tangle of color and life, filled with trees, flowers, and small water channels. It was a place where scientists came to rest, think, or sometimes escape the rigid rules of the Ark Council. Among them walked Mara Quinn, her eyes scanning the lines of strange symbols that had appeared in her data terminal that morning. Mara was a linguist. She had spent years studying alien communications, trying to find patterns in the noises, symbols, and sequences that others considered meaningless. Today, however, something caught her attention. A fragment of alien telemetry that read like poetry. The symbols seemed almost musical, a rhythm hiding in the chaos of data. She frowned, leaning closer. "What do you see?" asked Theo Alvarez, stepping beside her. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and practical, everything Mara was not. He loved machines and systems, but language was a puzzle he never tried to solve. "Look at this," Mara said softly. "These symbols. They aren't random. They form patterns. I think it's some kind of message." She played the fragment again. The symbols pulsed in light across the terminal, creating shapes that almost resembled letters. Theo tilted his head. "So, poetry? From the aliens?" "Possibly," Mara replied, biting her lip. "But there's more. The final line, it's different. Almost like it's hiding something." She hesitated. Then she whispered the line to Theo. "If I tell you what I'm thinking, you won't sleep tonight." Theo's eyes widened. "That sounds serious." Before Mara could respond, a soft voice came from behind them. "It is serious," said Dr. Isela Van, the visiting xenopsychologist. She had silver hair tied in a loose braid, and eyes that seemed to look straight into a person's mind. Some knowledge is too sharp for the unprepared. Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. There was something in Isela's tone. Calm, almost secretive, but with a weight that made the air feel heavy. "Too sharp?" Mara asked. Isela smiled faintly. "Sometimes the mind cannot handle a truth until it chooses to handle it. Be careful, Mara. Curiosity is a gift, and a burden." She turned and left, leaving the whisper echoing in Mara's ears. Mara and Theo exchanged a look. "Well," Theo said finally, "we have to know. That's how we work." "Right?" Mara nodded. Her hands trembled slightly as she returned to the terminal. She typed a few commands isolating the final line of the alien poetry. She ran simulations, cross-referencing the sequence with known alien symbols and mathematical structures. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a representation of intention, thought, and energy. "Think about it," Mara said, her voice barely above a whisper. This could be more than a message. It might be a technology." Theo leaned in closer. "A technology? You mean like a machine?" "No," Mara replied. "Something different. It looks like it amplifies thought. It could make intentions real if controlled carefully." Theo whistled softly. "That's big. That's huge." Mara nodded again, her mind racing. She imagined the possibilities. Repairing damaged habitats instantly, improving energy efficiency across the ark, perhaps even communicating without devices. But she also imagined the risks. Thought made reality. Uncontrolled, it could be dangerous. "Should we tell the Ark Council?" Theo asked. Mara shook her head. "Not yet. We need proof first. If we tell them too soon, they might panic, or worse, misuse it." Over the next few hours, Mara and Theo worked quietly in the lab. They created a small test, a simple mechanical sphere connected to a sensor. Mara focused her thoughts, imagining the sphere rolling a few inches forward. The sensors blinked and hummed. Nothing happened. She tried again, slower, more deliberate, synchronizing her breathing with the rhythm of the symbols. Suddenly, the sphere moved. Just a fraction of an inch, Theo blinked. "Did you see that?" "I saw it," Mara whispered. Her heart raced. It was subtle but undeniable. Thought had influenced matter. She felt both wonder and fear. The possibilities were endless, but so were the dangers. The fragment of poetry, the whisper, the line she had repeated. It was true. Knowledge could keep people awake at night. As night fell over the orbital gardens, Mara walked among the plants. The city lights of the ark reflected softly on the water channels. She tried to imagine the consequences of what they had discovered. Could humans handle this power responsibly? Could anyone? Theo joined her, holding 2 cups of steaming tea. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, smiling faintly. Mara managed a small smile. No, Ghost, just the future, I think. Theo handed her a cup. Then let's make sure we're ready for it. Mara nodded, sipping the warm tea. Around them, the garden was quiet. Yet inside her mind, the symbols still pulsed, the rhythm of alien thought echoing with a strange beauty. The whisper lingered. If I tell you what I'm thinking, you won't sleep tonight. She shivered once more, but this time it was a shiver of anticipation. Humans had discovered something extraordinary, something that no one else in the galaxy fully understood, and Mara knew deep down that the first step had already been taken. Outside the garden, the Ark's lights twinkled against the blackness of space. Somewhere beyond the observation windows, alien stars blinked like silent witnesses. Mara felt small yet capable. Humans had curiosity, creativity, and courage, their greatest strengths. And now they had a secret that could test every one of those strengths. Tomorrow, Mara said softly to herself, we find out how far we can go. And for the first time in days, she felt the weight of possibility, terrifying, beautiful, and utterly human. The discovery of the alien telemetry had changed everything aboard the Alethea. Mara Quinn could no longer walk the orbital gardens without feeling the pulse of possibility in the air. Every leaf, every water channel seemed to hum with potential, a subtle reminder that thought itself could shape reality. Theo Alvarez had been quiet for most of the day, absorbed in building equipment to measure the effects of their first experiments. It's like nothing we've ever seen, Theo said, adjusting the sensors around a small sphere on the lab table. The sphere moved a fraction of an inch yesterday, but now, I think we can control it better, especially if we coordinate our focus. Mara leaned over the table, eyes bright. Coordination? You mean multiple people thinking together? Yes, Theo said. If two people concentrate on the same outcome at the same time, the effect doubles or maybe more. It's not just human ingenuity, it's cooperation. Mara smiled, feeling the thrill of discovery. Humans were not just strong individually. Together they could do incredible things. That was the essence of HFY, humans working, thinking, and creating together. The first coordinated experiment took place in a small, controlled room. Mara and Theo invited two colleagues, a biologist and a physicist, to join them. They sat in a circle around the test sphere. Mara explained the instructions carefully, ensuring that everyone understood the importance of focus, synchronization, and calm intention. Remember, Mara said, we're not just trying to move the sphere. We're trying to see if thought can influence matter when multiple minds cooperate. Stay calm, stay aware, and stay connected. They closed their eyes. Mara pictured the sphere rolling toward her, smooth and precise. Theo imagined it moving as if drawn by a gentle magnet. The biologist imagined a path of light guiding it, and the physicist thought of a tiny invisible current pushing it forward. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the sphere began to move. It rolled a few centimeters across the table. They opened their eyes, gasping in surprise. It worked, Theo whispered. We actually did it. Mara's mind raced. This is huge. We can influence matter with coordinated thought. Imagine what humans could do if we developed this safely. But as the hours passed, a strange side effect began to appear. Participants felt unusually alert, their minds buzzing with thoughts they could not ignore. When the experiment ended, no one could sleep. Their minds were alive with patterns, symbols, and images. Mara tried to close her eyes that night, but the telemetry symbols pulsed in her vision. The next morning, the Ark Council had summoned her. Mara entered the council chamber, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Theo followed quietly, carrying a small sensor device that recorded mind-to-matter interactions. Ambassador Kell, the Lyran representative, was already seated. His tall, elegant form radiated calm, but his eyes betrayed concern. Mara Quinn, Kell said, his voice smooth and even. I've been observing your experiments. You have discovered what we left behind long ago. Thought amplification is dangerous, Mara swallowed. We are aware of the risks, but controlled experiments suggest humans can use this responsibly. We are taking precautions. Kell's gaze softened slightly, but his concern remained. Precautions may slow accidents, but they do not prevent them entirely. Your species is strong, clever, and resilient. But with this knowledge comes a challenge you have not yet faced, the limits of self-control. Mara nodded. We will be careful. We want to explore this technology ethically, with consent and only in controlled settings. The council remained silent for a moment, considering. Then a voice spoke from the back. Celine Park, the corporate envoy. She smiled sharply. Controlled experiments are fine, Counsel. But consider the value. The applications for industry, energy, and even transportation are limitless. Humans can achieve more than you realize. Mara felt a chill. Profit motives could ruin everything. She exchanged a glance with Theo. They both knew the stakes had just grown higher. Back in the lab, the sleeplessness grew. Volunteers reported vivid dreams, sometimes shared between participants. One evening, Mara walked into the lab to find Theo and two colleagues staring at each other in amazement. "I dreamed. You were all moving the sphere together," said the physicist, "and it worked in my dream." "I saw it roll," Theo nodded. "I had the same dream, and it wasn't just imagination. It felt real." Mara realized then that the technology did more than amplify thought in the waking world. It connected minds. Consciousness could synchronize, creating shared experiences. Humans were not just clever. They were capable of cooperation on a scale no one had yet imagined. "But we need limits," Mara said. "If too many people connect at once, we could overwhelm the system. Minds could influence each other uncontrollably." The team experimented with safety protocols. They developed small voluntary groups with careful timing and rules for consent. They discovered that the more synchronized the participants, the more precise the effect. A plant in the corner of the lab grew faster, petals opening slightly sooner than nature intended. A tiny stream of water changed its course slightly, following a thought-imposed path. It was beautiful. It was thrilling. It was human ingenuity in action, yet the exhaustion persisted. Night after night, the participants struggled to sleep. Mara noticed her own mind racing even when she tried to rest. Symbols and intentions pulsed in her vision. It was as though the very act of knowing this technology had made the universe itself wakeful. Ambassador Kell returned to the lab one evening. "You are moving too fast," he said softly, observing the experiments. "Your species' curiosity is admirable, but this is why the Lyran abandoned thought amplification. Minds become entangled, sleep becomes impossible, and society fractures when everyone can influence reality." Mara nodded. "We understand the risk. But humans are different. We have creativity, empathy, and collaboration. We can learn to manage it." Kell studied her, then spoke more quietly. "I hope you are right. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a trial, a junior scientist accidentally synchronized his thoughts with the entire lab network. Sensors blinked, lights flickered, and a wave of energy swept through the room. Everyone's minds buzzed in unison. Mara could see patterns connecting all participants, a visible map of intention. When it ended, everyone stared at each other in awe and exhaustion. Their minds were alive, awake, buzzing with thoughts that refused to settle. "This is incredible," Theo said, voice strained. "And terrifying," Mara nodded. "Yes, we've only scratched the surface. Humans can cooperate in ways no other species can, but we must be careful. We must learn to control it, or it could spiral out of control." She realized then the truth of the whispered line. "If I tell you what I'm thinking, you won't sleep tonight." Knowledge itself had made them sleepless. Awareness of possibility was a burden as much as a gift. That night, Mara walked through the orbital gardens alone. The moonlight shimmered on water channels, and the flowers swayed gently in artificial breezes. She thought of the symbol sequences, the patterns of human thought influencing matter, the shared dreams, and the endless potential. She stopped and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, other civilizations might never attempt such experiments. Humans were bold, curious, and cooperative. They did not wait for safety. They did not avoid risk. They created, discovered, and persevered. That was their strength. Yet she also felt the weight of responsibility. Knowledge could make them powerful, but it could also make them restless, sleepless, and perhaps even reckless. Mara knew the next step would be harder. Convincing others, protecting the discovery, and teaching humans to wield this gift with wisdom. She felt Theo's hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure it out," he said gently. "Together. That's what humans do best." Mara smiled faintly, feeling a mixture of pride and anxiety. Humans were capable of incredible things, but they had to learn restraint, discipline, and cooperation. That was the challenge of this new power. As she gazed at the stars, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow we see how far we can go." And somewhere deep inside, she felt the thrill of human ingenuity. Minds awake, hearts ready, and a future full of possibility. The sleepless nights aboard the Alethea had stretched longer than anyone expected. Humans had discovered a power unlike any other, the ability to influence reality with thought. The experiments had shown that cooperation amplified effects, producing small miracles. A plant opening its petals early, water flowing in impossible paths, tiny mechanical devices moving under the force of intention alone. But the cost was exhaustion, vivid dreams, and the ever-present hum of possibility that refused to rest. Mara Quinn walked into the lab one early morning, the soft glow of artificial lights illuminating the quiet room. Theo Alvarez was already there, adjusting sensors and monitors. They had both not slept well. In the corridors, volunteers whispered about dreams they shared, visions that connected them in ways no one could fully explain. Humanity had awakened to a new power, and sleep had become a rare treasure. "We can't keep going like this," Mara said. "The more people experiment, the more entangled our minds become. Some of the volunteers are losing the ability to rest at all." Theo nodded, rubbing his eyes. "We've seen the results. Coordinated thought is amazing, but the network grows too fast. The energy in people's minds is overwhelming. We need a method, a structure." Mara thought of Ambassador Kell, the Lyran representative. The aliens' caution had been wise. Their species had abandoned this technology centuries ago because the consequences were too dangerous. Humans were bold, curious, and clever, but boldness alone could not prevent chaos. A soft chime announced Kell's arrival. He entered gracefully, tall and composed, though his concern was evident. "You have progressed quickly," he said. "But rapid progress without structure leads to unrest. You must find a way to teach discipline, or you risk more than sleepless nights." Mara took a deep breath. "We have an idea. We want to create a system, voluntary, structured, and ethical. One where human thought is amplified, but only when people choose it consciously. Consent and guidance will be central." Kell nodded thoughtfully. "Good. You must remember, power is measured not only by what you can do, but by what you choose not to do." The team worked for days on the design of this new system. They called it the Concord Protocol. It was simple in concept but elegant in execution. Volunteers would participate in coordinated thought experiments, only if they understood the consequences. Sessions would be limited in size and duration. Mind synchronization would be guided, not spontaneous, and recovery periods would allow the brain to rest. The first large-scale test was scheduled on a small, damaged satellite colony orbiting a distant planet. The colony's botanical dome had suffered from a system malfunction, leaving the plants weak and undernourished. Mara saw it as the perfect opportunity to test the Concord Protocol in a real-world situation, a safe, controlled demonstration of human ingenuity at work. Volunteers arrived in pairs, groups of 4, and small teams of 8. Each participant had practiced meditation and focus exercises to align their thoughts and intentions. The lab had become a calm center of energy, quiet except for soft humming monitors. Theo checked sensors, ensuring the process would remain controlled. Mara raised her hand, signaling the beginning. "Remember," she said, "our goal is simple. Heal the dome. Allow the plants to flourish. Focus together, but stay calm. Consent is our guide. Cooperation is our strength." Eyes closed, hearts steady, minds aligned. The participants concentrated, visualizing water flowing, leaves growing, and sunlight reaching every corner. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the plants began to respond. Leaves unfurled, petals brightened, and the weak stems straightened. Water droplets seemed to sparkle in midair, guided by the collective thought of human minds. Theo's sensors registered the changes. "It's working," he whispered. "All within limits, no overload, perfect synchronization." Mara felt a swell of pride. Humans were shaping reality, not for profit, not for power, but to repair and create. That was the essence of HFY. Humans using ingenuity and cooperation to achieve something beautiful. The demonstration drew attention. The Ark Council and representatives from nearby colonies observed the results. Even Celine Park, the corporate envoy, watched quietly, her usual sharp smile tempered with surprise. The garden dome was fully restored within hours. Volunteers opened their eyes, tired but content, and the plants seemed healthier than ever. Kell's gaze softened. "This is remarkable. You have discovered not only power but responsibility. Humans can create without destroying. You are learning the lesson we once failed to teach." Mara smiled. It is not perfect, and we will continue to refine it. But the principle is clear. Cooperation, consent, and ethical guidance are as important as skill and focus. Not everyone was pleased. Some factions aboard the Ark and on distant colonies were impatient. They wanted rapid development, more dramatic results, and commercial advantages. They argued that regulations slowed progress, that humans could do more if only they pushed harder. Mara felt the tension grow. One evening, Celine Park visited Mara privately. "You've shown that humans can cooperate. That's impressive. But imagine what we could do if we loosened restrictions. Faster development, more influence, unlimited possibilities." Mara shook her head. "Power without discipline is dangerous. We've seen the consequences. Sleeplessness, mental strain, accidental synchronization. We cannot risk chaos just for speed or profit." Celine sighed. "I hope your caution does not hold humans back. But I see your point. Sometimes restraint is the greatest strength." Weeks passed. The Concord Protocol became a standard procedure. Volunteers participated in coordinated thought sessions to repair habitats, enhance small ecosystems, and even create artistic patterns in light and water for colony celebrations. The technology no longer caused sleeplessness because humans learned to balance participation with rest. Mara observed a small group working to create a miniature waterfall display in a botanical atrium. Water seemed to float and shimmer in arcs, catching sunlight in dancing prisms. Children wandered through, marveling at the beauty. Humans had harnessed the gift responsibly, shaping reality without fear or greed, using cooperation and empathy as their guide. Theo approached Mara, smiling. "We did it," he said. "Humans did it." Mara nodded, watching the volunteers. "We did it together. That's what matters. The gift is remarkable, but our choice to use it wisely is even more remarkable." Kel entered the atrium, his presence calm and dignified. "You have honored the responsibility well," he said. "Humans are indeed remarkable. You combine creativity, courage, and cooperation in ways that inspire even the oldest species. You have proven yourselves worthy of this knowledge." Mara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The sleepless nights had been worth it. Humans had discovered something extraordinary, faced temptation and fatigue, and emerged disciplined, ethical, and capable. The final test of the Concord Protocol came not in repairing habitats or shaping ecosystems, but in demonstrating trust. Mara invited a group of volunteers to synchronize thought to create a shared vision of the stars. Everyone closed their eyes. They imagined constellations, distant planets, and swirling nebulae. The effect was subtle but profound. A soft glow filled the atrium, stars appearing in midair, suspended as if the universe had expanded to include them. When they opened their eyes, the volunteers were quiet, awestruck. They had created beauty together, without any coercion or competition. Humans had learned the essence of the gift. Intention guided by empathy and collaboration could create wonder rather than fear. Mara turned to Theo. "We've done more than harness power. We've learned responsibility. Humans can rise to challenges even when the stakes are high. That is our strength," Theo smiled. "And the rest of the galaxy will notice. HFY, Mara. Humans are awesome." As night fell over the orbital gardens, Mara walked among the plants, the soft light of stars reflecting on the water channels. She paused, listening to the quiet hum of restored life. The whispered line from so long ago returned in her mind. "If I tell you what I'm thinking, you won't sleep tonight." But now it felt different. It was not a warning. It was a promise. Humanity had slept, learned, and woken stronger. They had taken a dangerous gift and shaped it into something beautiful. They had chosen to protect the night and respect the day. Mara sat beneath a canopy of stars, letting the peace of the garden wash over her. Humans had curiosity, creativity, courage, and the wisdom to choose restraint. That was why they would endure, flourish, and continue to rise above challenges in ways no other species could. And for the first time in a long time, Mara slept peacefully, knowing the future was in human hands and that humanity, in its best form, was truly remarkable.